Have you ever wondered why, even when you are surrounded by people, there is still a quiet feeling inside that whispers, I am alone. I am separate. I am different from everything around me? Many of us carry this hidden sense of isolation, as if we are a small individual self trying to survive in a huge world that doesn't always make sense. We feel disconnected from nature, disconnected from others, and sometimes even disconnected from ourselves. But what if this feeling is not a flaw? What if it is simply a misunderstanding about who we truly are? Alan Watts, one of the most loved and misunderstood philosophers of our time, shared a teaching so simple yet so revolutionary that it can transform this feeling forever. He said, "You are not a separate self. You are the universe playing a human for a little while." At first, this sounds poetic, maybe even confusing. But hidden within these words is a powerful truth that millions of seekers overlook. This teaching is not meant to deny your existence. It is meant to reveal something far more beautiful, that the you think you are is only a surface. Beneath it lies a deeper, connected, infinite presence that is part of everything. Today, in this video, we will gently walk together into the heart of this misunderstood teaching. We will explore why we feel separate, what Alan Watts actually meant, and how seeing through this illusion can transform fear into peace, isolation into connection, and confusion into clarity. So take a deep breath, relax your mind, and open your heart. Let us begin this journey of rediscovering who you truly are, beyond the boundaries of the separate self. Section 1 explores a question that almost every human quietly carries: why do we feel separate from the world? Alan Watts often reminded us that the strongest illusion we suffer from is the belief that I am a skin-encapsulated ego, a tiny individual sealed inside a body, looking out through two eyes as if they were windows. This feeling of separateness does not come naturally. It is learned through years of conditioning. From childhood, we are taught to say, my body, my mind, my feelings, as if there is a little owner hiding inside who controls everything. Society strengthens this belief by constantly telling us to compete, compare, and protect ourselves. Over time, we start believing this story, that there is a solid me living inside, separate from everyone and everything else. But according to Alan Watts, this is simply a survival strategy of the mind, not the truth of existence. It is like a wave thinking it is separate from the ocean, unaware that it is made of the same water, moved by the same currents, and shaped by the same forces. This illusion of separation becomes stronger whenever we feel stressed, afraid, or uncertain. In those moments, the ego tightens, and we feel even more isolated. Yet, if we look closely, the idea of a separate self begins to fall apart. Thoughts come and go without permission. Emotions rise and fade like weather. The body changes every moment. Nothing about us remains fixed or isolated. Watts invites us to see that this sense of a separate me is not who we truly are. It is just a temporary viewpoint, a convenient story. And once we recognize this, a doorway opens to a deeper, more connected way of experiencing life. Section 2 takes us into one of Alan Watts' most liberating insights, the idea that you are not a fixed person sitting inside a body, you are a process, a living movement of the universe. Alan Watts beautifully explains that we often imagine ourselves like little puppets placed into the world, trying to control everything around us. But this is not how nature works. You are not a separate object surrounded by other objects. You are more like a flame, constantly changing, constantly flowing, always in motion. Your thoughts shift every moment. Your emotions rise and fall like waves. Your body is not the same body you had yesterday. Cells are dying, renewing, growing. Identity itself is not steady. It changes with age, experience, mood, and understanding. So how can we say there is a solid, separate self when everything about you is always in motion? Alan Watts invites us to see ourselves the way we see a river. A river looks like a stable thing, but it is never the same from one moment to the next. New water is always flowing through it. Just like that, new experiences, new thoughts, and new sensations are always flowing through you. That you think is fixed is actually a pattern, a rhythm, a dance of life. This realization can feel strange at first, because the mind likes certainty. It wants to hold on to something solid. But when we look honestly, we see that the separate self we defend and protect does not actually exist. What exists is a living, breathing process connected to everything around it. You are the universe expressing itself as a human being for a moment in time. And when you understand this deeply, a beautiful sense of freedom begins to awaken within you. Section 3 addresses one of the biggest misunderstandings about Alan Watts' teaching, the idea of no self. Many people hear this phrase and immediately feel afraid or confused. They think it means, I don't exist, or nothing matters, or life has no meaning. But that is not what Alan Watts meant at all. Watts never said you do not exist. He said the separate, isolated, lonely ego you think you are does not exist. The illusion is not your presence, it is the idea that you are a tiny self cut off from the world. The fear comes because the mind imagines no self as emptiness, darkness, or a kind of personal disappearance. But in reality, this teaching points to something incredibly freeing and deeply alive. Think of a wave in the ocean. If the wave believes it is separate, it will feel small, fragile, and temporary. It will fear crashing, dissolving, or disappearing. But the moment it understands that it is not separate from the ocean, that it is the ocean, its fear disappears. It realizes it was never alone, never disconnected, never separate. The same applies to us. When we believe we are isolated selves, life feels heavy and threatening. But when we see through this misunderstanding, we discover that we are part of something vast, creative, and beautifully interconnected. You are not a lonely point of consciousness trapped inside a body. You are awareness itself, expressing through a body. You are not a blank emptiness. You are a living presence connected to every sound, every breath, every moment. Alan Watts' teaching on no self is not meant to erase your identity, it is meant to expand it, to show that you are more than you ever imagined. It is not a loss. It is a profound discovery of your true nature. Section 4 brings us to one of Alan Watts' most beautiful insights. You are not separate from the universe, you are woven into it like a thread in a vast cosmic fabric. Watts often explained that the relationship between you and the world is the same as the relationship between a wave and the ocean, or a leaf and a tree. A leaf does not grow on a tree as an independent object. It grows from the tree, as an expression of the tree's life. In the same way, you did not arrive in this world as a stranger, you grew out of the universe, shaped by the same forces that move stars, clouds, rivers, and seasons. Watts gives a simple example: you breathe in because trees breathe out. The trees breathe out because sunlight awakens them. Sunlight exists because of cosmic explosions millions of years ago. This means your next breath is connected to galaxies, forests, oceans, and ancient stardust. When you look closely, the boundary between you and everything else begins to dissolve. Your body depends on food, water, air, warmth, and relationships. Your mind depends on language, culture, and memory, all of which came from the world. Even your sense of I is shaped by everything around you. Watts calls this interbeing, the understanding that nothing exists by itself, and everything exists through everything else. When we realize this, a deep sense of belonging naturally arises. We stop feeling like isolated humans struggling to survive and begin to feel like expressions of a living universe. The world is not against you, because you are not separate from it. You are part of a single unfolding process, connected to every leaf, every breath, every star. And in this understanding, a quiet peace begins to awaken. Section 5 helps us understand something very practical. If there is no separate self, then how should we live? Alan Watts believed that understanding this truth is not just a philosophical idea, it transforms the way we move through daily life. When you stop believing that you are a lonely me trapped inside a body, something soft and beautiful begins to happen within you. The first change is that fear naturally reduces. Most of our anxiety comes from trying to protect an isolated identity, a small self that feels threatened by the world. But when you realize you are part of the world, not separate from it, the sense of danger slowly melts away. Life feels less like a battle and more like a flow that carries you. The second change is that compassion arises without effort. When you understand that others are not truly other, you start to feel a deep kindness toward them. You recognize their struggles as your own, their joy as your own. This does not come from forcing yourself to be good, it comes from seeing clearly. Just as your right hand naturally helps your left hand, you naturally care for people because you see them as different expressions of the same life. And the third change is that you begin to live in harmony with the flow of existence. You stop trying to control everything. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop resisting the natural movement of life. Instead, you learn to move with it, the way a dancer moves with music or a surfer moves with a wave. Alan Watts calls this the art of being in tune with the Tao, the natural way of things. When you live from this understanding, your actions become simpler, wiser, and more relaxed. You begin to live not from fear, but from connection, and from that connection, true freedom begins. Section 6 guides us into the most important part of Alan Watts' teaching, the direct experience of this truth. Understanding no separate self with the mind is helpful, but experiencing it with your awareness is what truly transforms your life. Watts often said that intellectual understanding is like reading the menu. It is not the same as tasting the food. So how do we taste this truth? It begins with simple presence. The first practice is to observe your thoughts without judging them or claiming them. Sit quietly and watch how thoughts appear, change, and fade on their own. Notice that you do not decide what your next thought will be, it simply arises. When you see this clearly, you realize thoughts are happening through you, not by you. The second practice is deep listening. When you listen carefully to the sounds around you, birds, wind, traffic, you may notice that there is no solid boundary between you and the sound. Hearing is not something you do, it is something that happens. Life flows into you without effort. The third practice is to feel your breath. Breathing is one of the clearest reminders that the world is continuously moving through you. You are not doing the breathing is doing you. The universe is keeping you alive moment by moment. And finally, Alan Watts suggests a gentle reflection. Ask yourself, where exactly is the boundary between me and the world? You will search, but you will not find it. There is no line where you end and life begins. Realizing this is not an idea, it is a quiet awakening. In this soft moment of awareness, the illusion of separation begins to dissolve, and you experience yourself as part of everything. Not a small self, not an isolated being, but a wave in a vast ocean of existence. This is the heart of Watts' teaching, and it is available to you right now. As we reach the end of this journey, dear seeker, I want to leave you with a gentle reminder that Alan Watts never wanted you to blindly believe any teaching, not even his own. He wanted you to see for yourself. To notice the subtle truth hidden in every breath, every sound, every moment of your existence. You are not a separate, lonely self wandering through a confusing world. You are a living expression of the universe, a wave of consciousness moving through time and experience. When this understanding even lightly touches your awareness, life begins to soften. Fear becomes lighter, compassion grows naturally, and every moment feels a little more alive, a little more connected, a little more meaningful. If this teaching touched your heart, I invite you to share your reflection in the comments. You may write a few words about what part resonated most deeply with you, or simply type Jai Gurudev as a way of offering gratitude and grounding this wisdom into the moment. Your words may inspire someone else who is searching, just like you are. And before you go, dear friend, I would truly love to know, what topic would you like the next video to explore? Do you want more teachings from Alan Watts, or perhaps insights from Ram Dass, Osho, Lao Tzu, or Yogananda? Tell me in the comments what your heart is longing to understand next. Your request will help shape the next chapter of this journey we are walking together. If you found value here, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and gently tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next spiritual exploration. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for seeking. With love, awareness, and a deep bow to your inner light. Jai Gurudev.